Hi, Steve, Woodworking Masterclass. For those of you that have seen some of my shows on TV or possibly watched the YouTube channel, you already know that I almost use hide glue exclusively in all my jobs. Occasionally there are places for epoxies and PVAs and super glues, but in the main it's hide glue. As a result of that, I've received many emails asking different questions about different aspects of how the glue works and what circumstances should I use it in, etc. But I had one the other day from a guy called Andrew, and he wanted to know how to mix it up. Well, I thought possibly there might be a few more of you out there that would like to know exactly the same thing. So instead of just answering his email, I decided to do a little video to show you how simple and how inexpensive it is to mix and make. So here we go. This is the glue. And as you can tell, it's little pellets of glue, sometimes called pearl glue, and sometimes this is referred to as pearl glue, not hide glue. All you do, put your pearl glue solids in a little container. These I buy at the supermarket. I think they're about 50 for $5 or something. And just fill the container with the little pearls. Then it's just as simple as adding water. Up to the top, what I generally do is grab a pencil and just break it up so I know that the water is getting to all the pellets. And that's it, glue's mixed. Now I'll leave that there, and while we're waiting for that to absorb all the water, it will become a gelatinous mass, as you'll see in about half an hour, 40 minutes. What I'd like to do is talk about different ways you can actually melt hide glue. There's a lot of things on the market. There's electric glue pots you can get, which are absolutely excellent. You can also use beautician double pots, which is an electric pot that beauticians use for hot wax. My experience with those are, yes, they do work, but after a period of time, and I'm talking a couple of years, the glue will actually eat through the aluminium. Well, my favourite is the double glue pot. They come in various sizes. This is the one that I use most of. It's I don't know if you can see that, but 1 pint. But if you buy one, make sure that it doesn't leak, because it's been my experience, you can get the outer one, it won't leak, but the inner one will leak. And I'm not sure if you can see there. Just move this a sec. But it's got a lot of pot marks on it, and also on the inside. Now what that's caused from is years ago when they used to actually boil these, the water as it boils and bubbles causes cavitation, which actually eats away at the metal. So if you do buy one off one of the internet sites, or you see one in a second-hand shop or junk shop, fill both with water and make sure that they don't drip, or else they're useless to you, unless you take up folk art and then they're okay. Now, what I do is put water in here with one difference, which I'll show you when we start making the glue. And I also, if you notice, I've got a little tab on there. Now, the reason I do that is many times, if that's sitting on my hot plate, which is this one here, I will only want to use the inner glue pot. So I will just pick up the inner glue pot and go and do whatever job I have to do. Then I come back if I want to reheat the glue. What I have done on occasions, which is why I have this, is I want to remove the whole pot from the hot plate, and in my enthusiasm to get the job done, I've picked up the wrong handle. Now, as you use one of these, inevitably, where's the brush? So Bob's pinched it. No, there we go. Does have his teeth marks on it though. When you're scraping your glue off like that, glue will run from the inner boiler to the outer one and create a seal. So what happens is you can actually pick that inner one up and the whole pot will lift off. That is until you've left the workbench and are over the concrete, then it lets go and that falls on the floor, and if you're really lucky, you'll just crack it, the top part, but 9 times out of 10, because they're cast iron, they'll break. So that little tab there reminds me if I'm going to pick the whole pot up, I pick that one up. Okay, I keep mine at about 70 degrees, but I believe anywhere from 55 to 70 degrees is quite acceptable. A gas cooker will keep it hot, however that does become quite costly. The other thing is you can use a hot plate, but I found that they're a little bit hit and miss with the temperature. But what I use is one of these, and this I bought from one of the cheapy shops for under $30, and it's an induction stove. Now what that means is if you've got cast iron, it'll work. If you've got aluminium, it won't. It needs to have the iron for it to work. But they're brilliant. You turn them on, they heat up in seconds. You can take that pot off when it's boiling, put your hand on there, and there's hardly any heat at all. So very, very safe in the workshop. The other thing I do like about this is the temperature I can set to 100 degrees. And by the time that 100 degrees has gone through this cast iron, heated the water, and the water has transferred its heat to the inner pot, and then the cast iron has absorbed heat from that, it actually gets to the glue, it keeps me at 70 degrees. And I think you can possibly get these online too. So that's how I keep my glue going. There are a lot of, what you could say, urban myths about hide glue, that you've got to use it in one day or throw it away. I haven't found that to be the case. Some of the glue in my pot stays in there for 2 or 3 weeks, and it's fine. You can tell when it starts to go off because it gets a bit of a pong about it, because what you're using actually is organic matter, and so when it starts to putrefy, it does smell awful. My best tip is, if you're going to melt some, have it like we've got here, mix it straight away and cook it. Don't mix it and leave it in a gelatinous solid for a few days, then go and cook it, because believe me, it will smell. All right, that's it. We'll just wait for this to firm up, and then I'll show you how to put it all together. Well, we've let that sit for about 40 minutes, I guess, and as you can tell, that's now one solid mass. So all we do, get a pencil or whatever you got handy, and there it is, one solid mass of glue. And normally I just put it in the inner pot. At the moment I haven't filled it up, so I'll show you what I do. Ordinary water, whoops, a bit more than that. Might take 2, a bit more. So what you want, you don't want that much water in that when you put this in, the water splashes all over the side. So having a look at that, the water comes up to there. So what I add is Radiator Inhibitor. Just a little bit. And what that actually does, it prevents rust from corroding the outer boiler, and it keeps it all nice and clean, and also stops your inner pot from rusting. Now what I do, this is my induction hot plate, and because there's very little heat generated with it, quite safely you can put a bit of wax lunch wrap on the top. That stops the glue pot from gluing. We've got the inhibitor in there and the water. Simply put the inner pot in there. Now that has got moisture in it and it will melt down, but experiences have showed me that when that melts down it's very thick. So I generally give it a good squirt of water as well. There's no scientific formula, it's just suck it and see sort of thing. As you can see, it's off. Turn it on, hit temperature, bring it down to 100 degrees. That's all there is to it. Now, another thing, if you don't have a double boiler, quite effectively, if it's a small gap stop method, you can use a glass jar in a saucepan with boiling water in it. It will have the same effect, but look on some of the auction sites on site or garage sales and you're bound to pick one up. They range anywhere from $40 to $100. We'll just let that sit for a while and it'll melt down, and I'll show you the consistency of glue that I like to use. Okay, now the glue pot's been on for a while, and as you can tell, it started to melt. That to me is a little bit too thick. And again, there aren't any rules, there's not any measurements, it's just experience. Give it a shot of water, stir that in. That's about the consistency I like. It's sort of like a good enamel paint. It's a nice solid dribble coming off the brush. And you'll have to add water during the day if you keep it on, because water evaporates obviously because it's hot. So it's just a question of topping it up. And don't panic if you put too much in, just leave it on the heat for a while and that excess moisture will disappear. That's it. That's as simple and as hard as it gets working with hide glue. Another tip with hide glue, as well as using it as a size and also gluing up, it's a great hand cleaner. If you've been working on the car or something and your hands are filthy, if you've got a bit of glue, make it hot, pop it on your hands, rub it under cold water, it lathers up beautifully and your hands are nice and clean and soft. So that's it. Another tip, and this is Steve pulling the shed door down for another week and saying remember to keep it sharp, but more importantly keep it safe and enjoy your woodwork.